What's up, everybody? A little bit of an impromptu, let's play with a concept. Okay, so the concept is, what would happen if you were able to collect the thoughts of individuals and go forward and record that, right? As a sort of if you could record the brainwaves of the dying, what could you map, right? Like if you worked with them in a private setting and were able to connect with that last thought that they were having, or that their regrets and those kinds of things, and figure out what kind of opportunity. What's up, Mike? How are you doing, bro? Would you be able to have with that, right? And then I got off on a whole other tangent of thought at 3 a.m. before I was going to bed, because after I got off the late shift at work, it was good, but my God, my back is screaming. So I'm kind of enjoying the smoke a little bit and decided, hey, why not come live? And heading back home, went out to get some. Excellent, bro. Excellent. Yeah, when you get back, let's chat. We'll set up another stream, or I'll get this thing going again. But I just figured I'd come on and do a quick let's do magic today. What's been happening today with magic? And this is one of those things where Tobias will no longer be with the Academy at this point in his journey, and that's sad, and at least not in a one-to-one kind of one-to-group sort of way. And so it's with old issues that crop up in life, with people that go down different paths, right? The thing with why I make certain groups free is because, or certain information free, especially now that I've got more confidence and I've seen more in-person changes of what's been going on in the readers' lives, or in the people that are working with the Academy to do their own thing within it, like the Divine Sorcerer and Sprad, or like Fang the Hypnotist, or Omenstar the Infernal, right? As they become more of who they are, and as they transform, and as they adopt the namesake of what they choose to become in the marketplace that we create, that we can walk forward publicly, because there's still a huge element of the community that is needing to be kept private, and needing to be kept safe, and needing to be kept out of the public's availability to judge in the period of transformation, to dissuade or diminish. And this is where working with these talismans, working with these opportunities of curation of magics and creation of that next level of what does it mean to become a magician today? What kind of resources can I give out to people? What can I share with people that are just getting on the path that I think is really cool, that would help them on their journey to articulate this stuff in a way that I'm not able to? What's up, Kimberly? How are you doing? So as we create these kind of opportunities for magic in the day-to-day, right? And I'm going through, and we just did a thing yesterday with conjuring the spirit of Mercury, right? What's up, guys? Hey, if you want to join me, you're more than welcome to. I'll drop the link here. Come be part of. Anybody who actually wants to come be part of, talk about the magic that you're doing today. But as these things grow, as these things become different, I want to share a YouTube video of this beginner's guide to intro magic, right? And it's really cool because these are needed principles to know how to do, because it articulates shadow work in a beautiful way, right? What's up, Omen Star? How you doing, man?
Not much.
What you up to today?
Dealing with kids. Getting back in the studio later today.
Awesome.
Probably gonna do some form work from what that one video I sent earlier, and I think yesterday in the group for the single-handed works.
Hell yeah, man. That looks like good stuff. I love the layouts and stuff that they have for it. Like the form in the background, the graphics that they're using for strike patterns and such.
I was thinking, like, the way they're doing it, if we could do something similar, it'd be perfect. Because then we could go through and, like how I did, screenshot the individual parts and, like, boom, now we have something to put on paper.
Right. And so this is the problem that I've got with trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm just myself filming in single locations. You've got your friends, you've got your family, you've got your kids that you can bring on and you can have them film you while you're doing things. You know, and if you pay kids as part of the deductions and stuff because you've got family stuff, you can get a deduction for what you pay them as salary. So if you pay your kids to do work for you, even though it's minor child labor, it gets them involved and gets them in the family project. It gets them aware of the thought concepts before they themselves might adopt doing it.
Right. And my son, I hand him the sword. He's already swinging.
That's fun. That's fun. Magic blessings on this day, my new way. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to get that clip pulled up real quick. What'd you think of that video?
That video, like I said, it touched on something we touched on before when I was working out my sylph's seal.
Right.
And I took a couple
going through the behaviors and stuff, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So this kind of concept, right, is like, I don't like to have you guys facing the darker aspects of yourself until you guys have a need for it, right? And until you can start interacting with things in a way that generate a need, you shouldn't be facing down your darkness unintentionally and without purpose. And so as a side effect of seeking out the light aspect within reason first, the secondary aspect is the negative. And that's why we've been touching upon the spheres of what is the light paths of heaven and what are the infernal paths of hell.
Yeah.
These kinds of transit points is because eliciting these behaviors in yourself, seeing when they come up, allows you to recognize that those are the energy frequencies of that concept that we're talking about when we try to describe hell or we try to describe a heaven, because these are the states of light or the things that we can talk about in public or things that we can talk about in a reasonable kind of way that are non-offensive, right? So that there becomes a modern lexicon of interaction.
Right.
So facing down the darkness, like there's a whole astrological pathway of what the Picatrix and the Sefer HaRazim, or not, the Book of the Sun of Two Stoned. Sorry. But it's memory. It's these things that we're doing, right, that allow for what we want to interact with. So as we're interacting with these things, we choose why we do it, right? And it's that choice of, why do you need to know this information? Why will this make you a better person? And quite simply, the interaction of shopkeeper magic is the only way that I can put it. Because last night, doing these high ticket sales for an adult store, we had $200 sales, $400 sales, $300 sales. Like these guys were spending good money on really cool products, but it was only because of an energetic exchange and a transfer of thought and fun and enjoyment and just an absurd amount of joy when it comes to certain things that they're trying to do, but also trying to don the mask of, well, how do I need to talk to this person so I don't offend them? How do I not make them too blushy? How do I make them blush in just the right way to where I get everybody giggling? Like, it's an environment, it's a theater, and it's cool. And it's just, there are moments with magicians that come in. Like there's this fellow that comes in, he's got a yellow hat, and last night he was wearing his crystals and a many stone bracelet that was woven out of copper. Like it was cool. Like his necklace was neat. And you know, he was wearing the African patterns, and his shirt had African masks and stuff on it. It was really cool. And the neat thing about it is there was a thought exchange where he was trying to read me while I was observing him reading me. And it was just like this whoosh of like, cool, what's up, dude? You know? And it was that momentary exchange of a psychic interface where these things happen in live time if we're out in the field, right? And how we balance these kinds of things in that application. How do we balance the thought we feel so that way we feel only joy in the situations we need to only feel joy when it matters for us to feel that joy, so that there's an exchange of, we're all together in this shithole of life. Let's enjoy it. Let's have some fun. Let's have some pleasure, for fuck's sake. And let's be able to discuss it in reasonable ways. But people are too repressed. So anyway, let's break that repression.
I've been running into that too. There's someone who I've been wanting to get back into magic. She's been wanting to get back into magic. But just the oppression of mother says, no, this is bad, or this is our religion, so this is okay. Yeah. So it's like, I told her, because she asked me, what do I do? Okay, well, first things first, practice anyway.
Yeah.
Make your stand. And then I sent her the protection magics of the grimoire.
Oh, good. Good. The thing about those protection magics, though, is that they run on the seals, right? They run on the elemental flow. So if you can't feel the thing that makes the element flow and why you need it, it's like a switch. Without that switch, it won't turn on, right? And without me having to get into the nuance of Ed Fitch's book, A Grimoire of Shadows, which was my first training manual, right? It was that Wiccan book of text that was like outer court material. And so as we're going to watch this video, and as we start to apply these things, again, you keep these dark books of magic, like we've discussed. What are the things that you've done that you're not happy with, that you want to change? And these are the things that you need to redeem your energies for, so that way when you feel them, when you do them, you know you did them and you know how you did them. But not everybody in the world needs to know how you did them. And that's the thing that you have burned at your time of death, because nobody needs to know how evil the thoughts were that were in your head, right?
Right.
But it gets them out of you. It gets them out of your subconscious. But the problem with doing that is that the law of narrative kicks in. If you write down the bad shit only, it's not going to be as good as, right? And that's the thing that Ed Fitch's book focused on. It was the negative stuff. It's write down your flaws. There's a focus on flaws for certain things. And that's not specifically the case. So this is where we go look into deeper magics with the Taoist stuff, right? But anyway, I'll stop rambling. Let's roll clip. But yeah, this is a good video
for folks. There is some revelation knowledge that we're going to be sharing that, folks, it will revolutionize your life. has been known in practice for hundreds of years. Most minds can't handle this. The magic psychic training, introspection, or self-knowledge. In our own mansion, meaning our body and our soul, we must find our way about at every moment. Therefore, our first task will be to know ourselves. Each initiation system, no matter which kind it may be, will put this condition in the first place. Without self-knowledge, there will be no real development on a higher level. In the first days of psychic training, let us deal with the practical part of introspection or self-knowledge. Arrange for a magic diary and enter all the bad sides of your soul into it. This diary is for your own use only and must not be shown to anybody else. It represents the so-called control book for you. In the self-control of your failures, habits, passions, instincts, and other ugly character traits, you have to observe a hard and severe attitude towards yourself. Be merciless towards yourself and do not embellish any of your failures and deficiencies. Think about yourself in a quiet meditation. Put yourself back into different situations of your past and remember how you behaved then and what mistakes or failures occurred in the various situations. Make notes of all your weaknesses, down to the finest nuance and variations. The more you are discovering, all the better for you. Nothing must remain hidden, nothing unrevealed. However insignificant or great your faults or frailties may be, some especially endowed disciples have been able to discover hundreds of failures in the finest shades. Disciples like these possess a good meditation and a deep penetration into their own souls. Wash your soul perfectly clean. Sweep all the dust out of it. If I were to ask you to be honest and to go into this and say, well, just list to me negative attributes, how many could you come up with? This is a negative emotion list. What we're going to find out with the next exercise, you're going to need to know this. This just kind of helps you to get an idea of how many different negative emotions we humans possess. Abandoned, belittled, confounded, abused, belligerent, confused, accused, bereft, contemptible, adrift, betrayed, contentious, afraid, bewildered, contradictory, aggravated, bitter, contrary, aggressive, blaming, control, agitated, bleak, covetousness, agony, blocked, cowardly, alarmed, blue, cranky, alienated, boastful, crazy, alone, bored, crippled. This self-analysis is one of the most important magic preliminaries. Many of the occult systems have neglected it, and that is why they did not achieve good results. This psychic preliminary work is indispensable to obtain the magic equilibrium, and without it, there is no real regular progress of the development to be thought of. Therefore, you ought to devote some minutes' time to self-criticism in the morning and at night. If you have got the chance of some free moments during the day, avail yourselves of them and do something intensive thinking, whether there are still some hidden faults anywhere. And if you discover them, record them on the spot so as to not to forget a single one. Whenever you happen to find any deficiency, do not delay to note it immediately. If within a week you do not succeed in discovering all your faults, spend another week on these inquiries until you have definitively established your list of offenses. Having achieved this problem within a week or two, you have reached the point to begin with a further exercise. Now, by intensive thinking, try to assign each fault to one of the four elements. Appoint a rubric in your diary to each element and enter your faults into it. You will not feel sure of which elements some of the faults are to be assigned. Record them under the heading of indifferent. In the progressing development, you will be able to determine the element corresponding to your deficiency. For instance, you will ascribe.
Okay. I'm going to pause that right fucking there because these inscriptions are part of the process, right? So Dr. Glenn Perry was a PhD who did astropsychology. Okay. His is the work that I study and apply to my sorcery, not this kind of bleak shit. Okay. So when we're going through and we're pulling out attributes of behavior, right? And you've done it yourself. You said so in the self experiment, right? You're learning how you respond to with the spirits of air. You're learning the beneficial aspect of what is the life goal of these things, right?
Right.
And so as we move into these elemental behaviors, as you learn how you respond to these things, there's not a practical element to writing the negatives down. On the Academy page earlier today, there's a video that I also shared that we can watch after this one. So this will be like a double feature day. But the concept, that is if you have time. If not,
I have some time.
videos up there. But I'll try to get through this quick. The concept is that if we use this stuff and we write this stuff down, there is a Genesis principle. It starts with a thought that's negative in our head. We carry that thought as a grudge because we don't know how to resolve it, right? The video that I shared earlier today was about how they observed between different military strategies and training, depending on the job situation, negative stimuli in training might not yield the best results as positive stimulation as is in a teaching environment when more rewards were given for good behavior than for exemplifying the negative behaviors, right? And there is a tendency to demonstrate a militant negative behavior study on oneself. And so that as these things grow and get cultivated, as we grow into who we are as magicians interacting with the world, there should be no negative bias at the forefront. You know, there is a personality introspection of what do these questions mean in relationship to the planet as they have been observed in clinical study, right? As Glenn Perry pulled out in his manuscript, both words generate behaviors because words become thought. Thought becomes action. Action becomes emotion. What does that thought make you feel in the moment of you feeling it? What was the environment of your recollection, right? Because as you think a thought, or as you recall a thought, it's also the emotion that you felt at the time of your thinking. So that you're able to arc over those moments to create an energy flow of emotion that compels an action. And if in that moment of action that you can compel a response, that you can compel some sort of, I'm here, this is cool, what the fuck ever, let's do this thing, and enter into the moment with an openness and a clarity of like, I'm here to help, I'm here to serve, I'm here to be in the moment with these people, regardless of what that moment is.
Right.
And that's that shopkeeper shit. That's that thing when I'm working with these customers on the sales floor. It's not about me in any way, shape, or form. It's about them, their journey, what will make them laugh so they don't feel overwhelmed in the moment. Right? So that as they get to experience who they are, exactly, it's a connection. And you connect through emotions. It's through understanding thought. It's through understanding a separation of your thought, your feelings, your emotions. So that way, when you enter in for that day you start your shift, regardless of how your body feels, you do your best to put on a mask to hide what you're feeling. You do your best to layer that behind an understanding of you have a thing to do that you need to do that matters more than you doing what you're doing now. So what is the thing that you're doing or that you can do so that as you project your will into the moment in the future, how are you building upon that? How are you cultivating those things? Right? there are many ways to connect. And so what we're doing in these explorations of behavior, in what they're talking about with connections, right? Like I've got to dig out my spell book, and we'll go through some of the notes for it. But with these elemental ones, right? So he's giving you all the negatives. Well, let's unfuck some of this stuff, right? So Earth establishes a need to produce something. Okay, that's the generative principle. There are other words to describe what you're outlining. Okay, so like what other words would you have to describe this? Because this is what works for the kind of magic that we apply it to when establishing the connection mentally, so that as we think of what gives sensations, what puts spirits into matter, right? That's earth. That's the earth body principle, okay? So as we're doing talisman work, as we're building phylacteries, as we're building these grids upon which we cast our spells, right? As we connect our will to the moment and to these points of operation, right? As we're establishing these connections into the moment, what we feel is irrelevant. What we're doing in the day-to-day is irrelevant. When we're in moments of spellcraft, for that moment, we are compressing all of reality to create a singularity at the quantum level. That's what we're doing. Give a very long description of connection. But I'm trying to describe a very long thought process so that as you work through the nuances of what that means, why are you using the stones you're using? Why are you using the colors you're using? Why are you using the shapes you choose to use? Why are you using the vowels you use? Why are you using every single aspect of your spellcraft? So that as you work through that entire journey that it takes to create your spellcraft, and in that moment, so when you're doing your sorcery, you achieve a result because you've projected your will through all of the feelings, all of the nuance, all of the behavior patterns that elicit that connection of the thing that you're trying to do, but you're doing it on purpose with an intentional reason for manifestation because you're seeking to achieve something that you will to cause happen. Causality, right? So depending on what you find as continuity, ATL. What do you find as continuity? What is your understanding of that? What are you trying to? I'm not describing a physics term. I'm describing a type of manifestation. I'm describing when sorcery can occur, when this manifestation is achieved in the moment that you connect to the array, to the planets, to the gates, to the spells, to all of the things that are inside of your gate work. In that moment of spellcraft, there's a compression of understanding that frequency that you're tapping into, boom, you're into sudden alignment, right? And you're able to pinpoint down in your behavior patterns what's going to make you feel those things. So that way, when you feel them, you can recognize, okay, well, this is an energy that's out in the world. So that this energy that's out in the world, I can recognize that the counter to this energy, that I'm going to need to balance out the environment to be able to tap into the feng shui of the environment in a one-to-one basis, establishes from my initial thought process. So that as I feel these things inside myself, if I feel them in the environment, I can behave in a way that allows me to channel what I need to, that's non-offensive, that's joyful, that allows for that connection to become established. So as we're tapping into these frequencies of behavior, right, the yang aspect of earth is organized ambition, systematic, steady, enduring, methodical, thorough, and practical, right? The yin is unimaginative, negative, unyielding, dull, sluggish, compulsive, anxious, formal, and greedy, right? Earth still gives sensations, and you can still be compulsive and anxious, because God knows I am, right? I did a
Right.
thing. I tattooed the yin hexagrams of the I Ching on my arm, right? Because I wanted to see how deeply I could connect to the yin energies of life as a yang individual, right? How masculine can I be while still tapping into the primordial darkness of creation, right? One A. Uninterrupted connection, successful or union. It is the disregard for the continuity between means and ends. Uninterrupted duration or continuation without. No, I was just trying to figure out in what context. And yeah, we are. That continuity is a great way to describe manifestation, right? In this, I haven't been approaching it in that way. Like, what I'm saying is a very specific in regards to we're doing this in sorcery. We're doing this based on the work of transcendental sorcery, right? Like, this is the stuff that we're working about with Alphys Levi. This is the stuff that we're doing with the Sumerian-based conjures. This is the stuff that we're doing with the Greek magic and these astrological principles that we're putting into sacred geometry using the Arabic word squares, right? Like, these are the principles that we're applying on. And continuity is not one that I use as a term currently. I haven't applied that word, that single word, to the long thought. I haven't shortened it down because there's stuff with continuity. You can violate it in certain ways. Paradox is permissible, right? The world does not hate paradox. It actually quite loves it. And that's the problem of understanding this stuff, is because in some ways this shit is. In some ways this shit is not. At the quantum level, it can exist both simultaneously. And what we're trying to do in ritual magic is to identify the singularity so that way when we feel that thing, boom, it's here. So that way when we're out in the world and we can recognize manifestation as it's occurring, we can be grateful for it. We can honor it. We can embrace the manifestation, because there's a lot of people out there that refuse the type of manifestation that comes because they're feeling some kind of way and they haven't done the work to adapt themselves to a new modality wherein that could be true, where they can embrace an energy current. They can key into a frequency that's going to make them feel kind of a certain kind of way. And if they think that it's only the bad emotions that do that, because this is what the media is putting out, because we haven't gotten to the point where we're putting out the good stuff yet. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Ooh.
So as we continue and as we push, we're looking at the phylacteries within the key of Moses, right? We're looking at the way that these things are structured in astrological timing. We're looking at how these things apply to creating the connection to a spirit that's very specific. Is the pronunciation key for that. That's awesome, man. Thank you for putting that up here. I appreciate your contributions, man. This is great. Thank you. As we apply the higher principles, as we go back through, air is going to be need for social and intellectual changes. Thinking, objective, anything objective. What is the, getting into continuity again? There's a sense of continuity, even immortality to family structures and emotions. Okay. That's neat. No, that's not been a word that's in the direct applications for the stuff that we've been working on. Language is difficult. Language is a pain in the butt. And no, please don't. Please don't. But this is the stuff Glenn Perry was working on as he was observing his own client interactions under the astrological timings because he was applying it. But I only had one book that I found in a used book. I paid an obscene amount of money for this thing. It's wonderful. It's the teacher's guide, right, to astropsychology. It's the teacher student guide. So as we go through these things, and I take screenshots of this thing to help with the students to explain the path of manifestation. So as we build these kinds of spells, right, as we're building our phylacteries, as we're building our astrologically arranged, blood magic tied, energetic projection points, we're doing what this video is talking about, but we're doing it in a generative way that's built upon good principles. What's up, Wicked Angel? How are you doing?
Hello.
So that way, as we apply the shit that I'm talking about, as we conjure up, what is an intellectual application of the spirit of air? What thought do you want to project into somebody's head along with the lines of what do you need them to do, right? This is head working in hoodoo, right? It's the implantation of thoughts on purpose. You can do that. That's fun. That's what I'm describing to do without thought. You do it by feel alone. You guide feel. You let their thought of what they need in the moment enter into your mind so that you understand the moment of your observation. So as you're in that moment, you understand the solution using an instantaneous inspiration. You can key into what do I know in this moment that will allow me to establish the thing that needs to be done so that I can recognize it and I have the exact toy, the exact tool, the exact lubricant, the exact numbing stuff, the exact tingly shit, the thing that will allow them to experience the moment of orgasm and be the most sacred thing that they're going to experience as a couple, and a response to that without judgment of whatever the fuck it is. So long as it is within context of the adult store that I'm working in. Right? And as long as it, there are certain, like, let's not do that. But there are ways that you have to be cautious with these kinds of things, right? Certain language in certain kind of ways can screw with an individual. And again, ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? And so this is where we have to balance out what is an application of the negatives. If you're willing to examine the negatives, then you can examine the positives. Then you can examine how the positives are willing to shape and change the world around you. But if you don't have context for study of the negatives, just putting the negatives out there like this, you're only getting the negatives exposed to you. You don't have a source of where, okay, well, you have to balance the negative arrangements of these elements with the beneficial elements, right? You have to do it in a place of understanding the yang and the yin. Right now, this is a study of the yin magic, the negative, the dark aspect of self. But yin is also generative. Primordial yin is also a place where you get to pull out from that darkness. 66 degrees and it's 2:22. That's hilarious. Anyway, what we're doing at this moment, boom, right? And there's a funny noise.
I'm sorry.
No, that was like synchronous timing. Like it was just that's just hilarious to me. Anyway, I'm gonna roll the clip and let's get back to it.
Jealousy, hatred, vindictiveness, irrationality, and the anger to the fiery element, frivolities, self-presumption, boating, squandering, and gossiping to the element of air, indifference, laziness, frigidity, compliance, negligence, shyness, insolence, and instability to the watery elements, laziness, lack of consciousness, melancholy, irregularity, anomaly, and dullness to the elements of the earth. In the following week, you will meditate on each single ruby, dividing it into 3 groups. In the first group, you will enter the basic failures, especially those that influence you the strongest or happen at the slightest opportunity. The second group will embrace faults occurring less frequently and in slighter degree. And in the last group, you are recording those faults that happen only now and then. Go on doing so with the indifferent faults too. Work conscientiously at all times. It is worthwhile. This goes deep. The other 2 elements, water and air, are not less efficacious than the former, neither is the nature wanting to work wonderful things in them. There is so great a necessity of water that without it no living thing can live. No herb, rain, or any other water that is on purpose put on them. For most interesting that only earth and water bring forth a living soul. But he ascribes a twofold production of things to water, of these things swimming in the waters, and of things flying in the air above the earth. And that those productions that are made in and upon the earth are partly attributes to the very water. The same scripture testifies where it says that the plants and the herbs did not grow because God had not caused it to rain upon the earth. Such is the efficiency of this element of water that spiritual regeneration cannot be done without it, as Christ himself testified to Nicodemus. Very great also is the virtue of it in the...
Hey, Alex.
Yeah.
What was that spell of restoration?
Let me refill my book here. Got it. Headache, auric shield. Still have I call forth from the sacred mountains from the east, out of the flowing waters. Come forth and cleanse. I call forth.
You can stop right there. First line of the spell of restoration, the most important cleansing spell we've got. It extends from that initial washing clean, right? Why do we need to do that? So that we are a pleasing person, so that our interaction with the individuals in that shop environment, in that theater production, in the great drama of the masquerade that we have to don in the moment of our donning it, right? What is it that we need to become without sacrificing ourselves to the thing that we need to become so that we fit better into that moment, so that that adaptation of how we want to become doesn't violate the core tendencies of our moral virtue. And I say that in a way that I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm saying this comes from how do you get to still be you and still get to help your people without being a colossal douchebag to people that get marginalized. And this is where my tirade in the current political structure is very, very upset about most Republicans that are out there, is that they want to hate on trans people. They want to hate on the genderqueer. They want to hate on absolutely everybody and make it impossible for things to happen. Well, here's a great big fuck you bastards. I'm going to start teaching magic in public. Right? If Tobias can't be at the fucking class because of his schedule, he can stream this shit with us and he still gets to participate. Right? Are you okay with that? Like, do you mind doing class in public?
No,
Awesome.
not at all. Like, this way, not only do I get to learn, but we have a way of teaching other people.
Right. And so it's in the application of our teaching that it becomes incredibly transparent that I'm teaching a type of manifestation that's built upon sacred principles that have been established in the ancient world, built upon a framework that's as old as time is. Right? But the problem that I have, and this is in a continuity issue, is in which way are we in the world where things in relationship to technology, as far as, like I said earlier today, connecting thoughts of people to machines so that you don't regulate the individual, you allow the projection of the individual over the regulation of the self, so that as you go through and you become more of whoever it is that you're meant to be as you become it, right? And you get to become so fully. Thank you so much, ATL, for joining us today, bro. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. What's up, Wolverine Transparency? How's it going? So as we teach occult stuff, as we teach the hidden ways, right? The fire energies are energies to action, the need for pure expression, the action, the life force, pure energy, the thing that allows us to connect to the light frequency, right? If we are consciousness and our thought is at the quantum level of ourself and the individuality, as we go through and into creation in other ways, through quantum tunneling, right? This is the principle of quantum tunneling. It allows us to exist outside of the barrier, even though there is a barrier of thought of where our body extends. So our thought can enter into the mind of somebody else in a form of instantaneous quantum tunneling in the best kind of way possible, right? So that way we don't put negative thoughts into other people's heads when we meet them because we feel some kind of way about our shit behavior. So that way we can match the people at their frequency. So that way, when we're serving them as customers, we do so with joy, because what we serve them with, the food they buy, the beer they're consuming, the whatever it is, it's going to serve them for a good. It's going to serve them for a reason and a purpose that's going to enhance the mood, not take away from it. So that way, when we go to be in those environments, we are doing a good thing, right? And so yang aspects of fire are creative, they're expressive, they're confident, they're proud, they're exuberant, they're enthusiastic, zealous, joyful, assertive, bold, and spirited. That's a good thing. The yin nature of it, though, is willful, arrogant, insensitive, overwhelming, aggressive, rash, impulsive, impatient, and fanatical, right? So if you're taking your yin attribute of fire and you only understand it as an expression of the negative nature of yourself, but you don't have a way to feel the positive aspect of it, well, how do you generate the positive aspect of fire? Well, guess what? Hey, Alex.
Yes.
Still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
What was the first thing that you experienced after you conjured the gate of the sun?
Oh, a fiery, like almost like a liquid magma flowing through my veins from my stomach.
Okay. What was your emotional state at the time? You write that down?
I think so. Where's that book at? That's in a separate book.
Right. This is the book of shadows. This is the book of your emotions. This is why having that that book that they talked about writing this shit down in is so important. So when you have an expression of magic, when you do these gate works for the first time, you have a full and accurate record as often and as best as you can in your interim beginnings. And this is the thing that people fuck up the most, because they're like, oh, I don't really want to do it. Oh, I don't really want to get to that. Or, oh, it's too complicated. It's like, okay, well, if it's too complicated now, you're going to have to go back and do it again. Right? And this is the rub of magic, is that at every year of your introspection, at every year of your practice, you go back and you cycle through. You begin again. You do the cycle of the year again.
I can't.
We're about to enter May Day. We're about to begin the year, the pagan year. Like, this is, boom. You gather on the mountain, you go meet the devil, you go party, you go have the sex, and then you go think about all the things you did wrong over the years, so that way when you go there next time, you're going to go behave better, so that you don't fuck off that opportunity at the next convention, at that next interaction, at next week's gala, or whatever it is that we get to go to, because of whatever it is that we're working on that allows us to go deeper in the moment of service, so that way we can make the biggest impact at the time to serve as many people at the time that we are able. So that thought that we project out there is a good thought. It is built upon a good application of our will in the moment, so that as it gets released, it generates a momentum, a tide, spiraling outwards of what is a great idea. But we do it in a way that is generative at every level. We do it in a way that asserts not these fucking negatives, but allows us to correct the negatives of our past. So once we do it, we know we're not going to do it again. We're going to see where we're in these opportunities to go through and do that. And the reason I'm going like so hard in on this is because what I was doing after my shift, what I was thinking about while I was thinking about these quantum physics things. So I watched the quantum physics videos. I meditate on the paradoxes and all these things. And at the same time, at the second thought that I'm running is all of the shit in my day. So, okay, what did I do wrong? Where did I go and screw up? Right? But I'm also looking at, where did I do good? Where was I most service to my customers? Where am I going to remember them the next time, so that they don't get fucked in the circumstance? So anyway, I'm going to continue, and we're going to play.
Religious worship of God in expectations and purifications. Yea, the necessity of it is no less than that of fire. Infinite are the benefits, and divers are the uses thereof, as being that of virtue of which all things subsist, are generated, nourished, and increased. Thence it.
Hey, Alex, you still around?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Have you noticed the increase in your magic since adapting yourself to an infinite concept of fire?
Yeah, like if I'm waking up on the wrong side, I'll go back to my routine of waking up, calling forth the eternal flames and opening up the solar gate in the morning. Upon waking up.
Okay.
And upon doing so, I tend to have a better day. I tend to have a longer fuse. I don't get upset as fast.
Excellent. Excellent. And see, that was the answer to the question that I asked a little bit ago that you went to go get your book for, that you thought about in a different way so that you were able to get that expression in a form of understanding, right? And what's really cool about all of this conversation that we're having, being able to have the Facebook generation of all their algorithms pop up these videos the same day I'm having these experiences of thought at 3 a.m, not but as soon as I wake up, boom, the first video of the day that pops into my feed is this fucking thing on magic. And it's like, oh, shit, this is perfect. This is the concept that I wanted to go deep on, because this is the thought that I was experiencing this morning that I wanted to be able to talk about but I didn't want to necessarily wake up Bob because he's sleeping, even though he says I could, he sleeps through a lot, so I can talk more and like I can go live in these 3 a.m. thoughts after work and stuff. So I might start doing that. So the schedule is going to get really fucking wacky, folks. After I get out of there at what fuck, I got home about 1 o'clock this morning. So it's like everything is pain. But water is the motivation for emotional connections, feeling connected, joining, movement towards something. The yang attribute is opening, unifying, absorbing, psychic, anything. Right? Anything psychic you could do with water. Like you could project stuff, you could do the receptive stuff. Like the grids that we're building, right? The formation of these grids is that alignment of space and time. So if we have that grid, we have everything in meaning, boom, already thought about. It looks like an image. It's an imprint. It's a fingerprint in a moment, right? It is no more you than your fingerprint is, right? It's like the fingerprint of a greater expression of all the cornucopia of what magic could possibly be for what the meaning is and that feeling and the impossibility of the thing you feel. So as you feel that thought, as you guide yourself on like the string of your life, right? Your life path, we'll call it, right? As you go and do these things, you're pulling these energies through your body, through all of the organs, all of the neurons, all of the cells that exist to self-regulate. Right? There are neurological tissues in your stomach, right? It's like I get abdominal migraines. Like my body feels like garbage because I put like fucking mac and cheese into it. Like terrible food group, but it's a food group. Kidding people. I'm fucking with you. Anyway, the yin side of water is you're easily hurt. You've got a victim mentality. You're chaotic. You're unclear. You're confused. You have unstable emotions. Well, if you're keying into frequencies and you don't know how to self-regulate because all you do is focus on the negatives, so all you're looking for is the negative shit that's going on in your life. You don't know how to regulate and find the good shit that's going on in your life because you're not training yourself to. You're using military tactics and not your generative tactics that the civilians ought to use, right? In certain situations of high stress, you need to be able to understand the negative so that you don't do the bad thing that you're doing while you're trying to do the good thing, right? There's that really funny, but also really disturbing good guy with a gun thing, right? It's where less than 3% of all active shooter problems, according to what was it, the FBI study in 2022, I believe it was, or 2023, 2022, I believe, from the video yesterday, talking about are solved with people that have a gun, right? And so that's not the thing that's going to keep people safe. Training and mentalism and being able to recognize negative situations in the moment. So could that moment have gone a different way so that those that are at the retail level of a store can keep their people safe, right? So that way we can see in the moment. And again, this is shit that popped into my news feed at 2 a.m. So these were things that I was thinking about while I was working on this. How do I articulate a thought that would go back to the videos that I was sharing at 3 a.m. when I didn't want to go live? Right? Because those are important, right? Because they're making fun of a situation which pulling out a gun and shooting somebody is the least adaptive, least developed, least cultivated thing any country should do in the civilized world at all, ever. And we have to be able to choose when in the moment we exist, that thing that we're going to key into, so that way we can choose a better path forward as a people, as a community, as whatever it is that we're going to do. So that as we do it, we don't fuck off. We get to be ourselves, yes, but we still get to be ourselves in a way that serves others, while also we get to do it in a way that doesn't demand immediate precision. Precision will come. Precision is cultivated over time and practice. right? You can fall from your path of precision due to trauma. You can fall from it due to depression. And if you're in a state of depression, well, what's the thing that's going to get you out of it? Community gets you out of it. Purpose gets you out of it. Getting energies that are not your own get you out of it. How do you do that? Well, you can conjure the gates, and that shit will do it right away, right? You bring that shit into your life. The gateways are open. The pathways are open. The doors are open. It's like licking a light bulb, like, battery zap, right? That energy current flows through you. It's really funny. I got a twinge in my shoulder when I licked it. I was doing the whole, like, yeah. Anyway. Ow. As an example of connecting these circuits and these pathways in the body to demonstrate that these things are viable. The body is electric. These things are frequency. This thing is motion and vibration and what you feel and why you want to feel it. And the better that we can understand this while we're out in the wild of the world, right? We're not in a laboratory environment here. We're not in a hermitage because we're not able to do that to keep our people safe just yet. There has to be a commitment that what we're doing is going to get people safe. It's going to get people something that they can have, rely on in their old age or in their infirmary so that they can be trusting that they don't have to pay an arm and a leg for services. They don't have to get expenses for medical care. They can get their medical care paid for, right? Like that's what the church used to do. Like you donated things to the church so that they could use it to care for others, right? The church was a big fancy building. It was built out of the stone, the hard stuff that wouldn't decompose, that wouldn't need to be replaced, right? It would be stand as a testament of time that you could make purpose of for community purposes at all time and place. And if you've got people that feel unwelcome there because of the activities that are going on, then you've got a problem with the church.
Mm-hmm. I can agree with that.
Right. And there's big, beautiful buildings that I would love to teach magic at. I would love to be able to say, hey, look, can I use your stuff to do ritual in, to demonstrate to people in a sanctified space that's been built to the correspondence in the directions like a church is supposed to be, to demonstrate these principles to people so that they can get an interaction into the priestcraft, so that they can understand that these are big sacred energies, right? And as we key into these frequencies, as we develop the relationship between these frequencies and what we're doing, what we're thinking, and how we're doing it, we become better. We choose to be better. So that as they're going on about their thing, they're creating that energy flow, that rhythm, that development between what is the best beneficial way that all of this serves them in their time of need, and what does it constitute for time of need? Well, the constitute for time of need for me and my customer is in that moment of interaction, in that 10 minutes that I have with them. If I get to have 20 minutes with a customer, I'm lucky. I usually get 5 minutes with somebody. What's in that 5 minutes? In that 5 minutes is, oh, hey, there is this really cool toy. How do you approach a topic of a clit toy that gets to suck and leave a hickey on you other than pulling it out of a drawer and demonstrating it on your hand, watching it fall off, right? How are you doing that to make somebody laugh about a very personal situation that they're going to experience for themselves? Because most people will not approach their sexuality. Less than 1% of the population, as of a few years ago, this was the case, went into an adult store because they didn't want to have the stigma of somebody knowing who they are. Well, guess what? With all the shit going on in my own head and the ability to, like, looking at moments, I'm lucky if I remember who the person is. There has to be some kind of energy. There has to be some kind of thing that will allow me to remember or recall that moment. The other night, it was a lady's backpack. Yesterday, it was the dude's crystal bracelet. Right? Like that's what I remember him for, is the copper weave and the yellow crown on his head for his beanie. Right? And I'm calling it those things in lieu of not wanting to presuppose magical tradition upon him, even though I thought it was really cool. And it was in that moment of those are barrier talismans. Those are an observation of, okay, well, what's this? What do these spirits think? What do these energies think in relation to me? Saying, hey, cool, that's energy. I'm not going to fuck with that. This dude's cool. I like that. I'm just going to like pet it and say hi.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like dude with the coyote sticking his hand in the like trying to pet the coyote.
Me as hell.
Right? But this is me doing that with people, not animals. Right? Like this is me trying to articulate that when we start going out and we start interacting with people, because we're keyed into the gate frequencies, we go weirder than normal. So we have to figure out what is that path, right? And I mean by weird, we mean the definition of fate, right? That weird path, the winding path of life that we have to navigate our way through in every interaction that we're interacting with others. So that way, as we interact with them, we're doing so intentionally with the benefit to all parties involved at all times, so that as we become the thing that we're going to become, whatever that is, we do the thing in a way that doesn't offend. We do the thing in a way that cultivates relationships, that creates dynamic interactions, that isn't a shitty experience for anybody involved. Unless they're into that. So, anyway, I'm going to roll the clip.
That Theos of Miletus in his odd concluded that water was the beginning of all things, and said it was the first of all the elements, and the most potent, and that because it has the mastery over all the rest. For, as Pliny said, waters swallow up the earth, extinguish flames, ascend on high, and by the stretching forth of the clouds challenge the heaven for their own. The same failing became the cause of all things that grow in the earth. Very many are the wonders that are done by waters, according to the writings of Plinius, Solonus, and many other historians of the wonderful virtues whereof. Ovid also makes mention in these verses. Horn Hammon waters at noon are cold, hot at sunrise and setting sun. Wood put in the bubbling Ephemus is fire. The moon then furthest from the sun retired. Caesarean streams enagled his guts to stone, that therefore drinks, in what therein is thrown, Crathis and Cyprus, from the mountains rolled, color of the hair like amber or pure gold. Some fountains of a mere prodigious kind not only change the body, but the mind. You have to begin to prepare yourself to receive it. If not, your transmitter and receiver will block it. This is conclusive evidence that telepathy or mind transference has been known in practice for hundreds of years. The method of mind transference is frequently carried out unawares and may be performed in various ways. When two persons are in neutral sympathy with each other, it is a comparatively easy matter if they are of a nervous or sensitive temperament. Writing a letter and then burning it, and while fixing the mind firmly upon the person addressed, and willingly that the letter be answered, is one method. Mentally addressing a crystal vessel of water with the palms of the hand extended over the glass, while picturing the absent person clearly in the mind's eye, and then pouring the water into the stream or ocean, will carry a message to the one at sea. Bearing a stone, slate, or piece of metal in the earth at the time of the new moon, on which a message is inscribed, will influence those who labor in the earth or work in like metals, especially if Saturn or Uranus be in strong aspect to the earth through the sun. The air method is the best of all, and was that undoubtedly used by Agrippa, as he makes mention of the matter in this piece. Now here's how you do it. Go out into the open air or to an open window and face the quarter wherein the person is. Or if the quarter is unknown, face in turn each of the 4 cardinal points and audibly call the name of the person with whom communication is desired, the same as through the party within an adjoining room. 3 times, earnestly, each time with added force. While doing this, extend the arms and hands as in appeal, and while clearly picturing the person's features in the mind and will, determinedly and persistently, that your call and message be heard. Then speak as though the person stood before you, shortly, firmly, and decidedly. Having done this, listen for a reply, which will come as though one were speaking to the mind without the aid of the ear. Do not imagine a reply, as that will not help but rather hinder the communication. Of course, in most cases, it is necessary that there should exist a sympathetic bond or tie of some kind between the parties. This art may be developed by practice, by lovers especially, to an astonishing degree. It will be found very helpful to set certain times for such development. With practice, after mind communication has been accomplished, spoken messages and other noted conditions may be dispensed with, and it will be merely necessary to will and think, projecting the message astrally, the astral body from the material body. This is just cool stuff. This is going to change your life. It's powerful.
So one of the things that I'm looking for is, as I circle through my notes, is there's a wishing spell, right? You call upon the spirit of the air to carry your desire, right? You use the ingredients of each of the elements and you blow it in each of the directions as you've got your petition burned and mixed with those herbs so that the plants and the environment that you're in connects to that region of space that you're working in, right? So I have to find the spell. It's around here fucking somewhere. Aha! I think lots of books, lots of notes, lots of papers, because I'm forever looking for shit. And it's either I need more space or a better storage system. And I'm guessing it's a better storage system.
You need your trunks.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do. And then I'm going to have to start labeling each fucking trunk so I know which book is in what. And aha! Wishing to the winds. All right, here we go. So this is a thing that you can do. It worked out in a really fucked up kind of way for different stuff. Like you can do it in a straightforward kind of way where you understand that this is the thing that I want to do and this is how I'm going to do it. But as I do the thing I'm going to do, I do it in a way that's beneficial. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it. So bay leaf is also known as bay laurel, right? It's for success or prestige and wishes. Rosemary for the promotion or advancement of wishes. Cinnamon for the power of wishes. Vervain for general wishing, right? Cardamom for love wishes, or peppermint for prosperity wishes. Depending on which one of those you do, you don't have to put both of them in there, right? But if you put cardamom and prosperity to love prosperity, what is the thing that makes you prosperous? The thing you love to do. What is the thing you love to do? The thing you dedicate your life to, the principle of what you're doing in life, right? What is the thing that I'm getting you to do? Sword train. Do things with your life that's going to benefit others.
Yep.
Straight fucking forward. Like, we're doing it without your knowledge of how we're doing it. How do we incorporate these physical principles into action, into thought, into behavior, into going forth and doing, right? So where we don't necessarily have to do the spell behind it, we can do the energy that the spell represents, and we still get the same effect by the causality of that's the spell we're doing. That's the time in the period of interacting with these things, so that when we start tying in the improbable ability for not only this video to show up, but Alex, how many months are you into your studies now? 4?
January, February, March, April. Yeah, finishing up with our 4th month.
Right. And you understand what's being talked about in this video, right?
Yeah.
You've applied stuff that's already in this video, haven't you?
Yep.
Fucking cool, man. Fucking cool. I love this shit.
Hello, friends. I'm Max.
All right.
And you're watching a video.
So that was that video. So it was over. Yeah. So way cool. I appreciate everybody for watching that. Okay. So now what you do in the north, right? So you've got your ingredients in your hand. What are you going to say to the north? Right? Why are you going to interact with the north, and what way you're going to do it? Right? King Boreas of the north wind, by the powers of the earth, I call you to carry my wish to the northern quarter, and by the powers of the gnomes, I ask you bring me success. To the ingredients. Right? Blow a quarter of the powdered herb from the palm in the direction of your north. Turn to the east. Right? King Uraeus of the east wind, by the powers of the air, I call upon you to carry my wish to the eastern quarter, and by the powers of the sylphs, I ask you to bring me success. Right? Well, how can you interact with the spirits of the east if you don't know what a sylph is? And Alex, do you know what a sylph is?
Yes, I do. I talk to mine almost daily.
This shit is real, folks. This shit is tangible.
She's still badgering me about finding a ring.
Okay, so we need to get you one.
Yes, we do. One with a yellow stone in it, or a stone that represents air.
Okay. We'll look into that. And we can talk to Zanika about that too. The lady that made my necklace.
Mm-hmm.
Because she does custom work. And she's willing to do jewelry work in custom hours and stuff like that. So if we need to get you a vessel, then maybe we could dedicate that for one of the investments for the month into the practice and the thing. So that way you've got some way to carry yourself with you. Right?
I mean, I still have this vessel right here I plan to use for the serpent guardian.
Hell yeah.
Although I might see if I can't have somebody recreate it, but in silver.
Neat. I wonder what would be the best way to get a cast of that.
Very carefully, I would assume. Because there's a lot of dips and grooves.
That's interesting. So again, that'll be a conversation where we have to call up Zanika and see if she'd be willing to replicate something from an already existing thing. But you know, and if folks aren't paying attention, I'm breaking up the spell with a divergent thought on purpose so that I don't accidentally start casting this shit.
You mean like how I did the Venus Gate?
Yeah. Oopsie doodles.
That's
blow a quarter of the powdered herb to the east. Turn to the south and say, King Notice of the south wind, by the powers of the fire, I call you to carry my wish to the southern quarter. And by the powers of the salamanders, I ask you bring me success. We haven't met salamanders yet. That takes time. That takes practice. Those fuckers are interesting. But that's a dragon. Started conjuring dragons out of fire yet?
I think there is a spirit of fire that is actually nothing but sentient fire. I can't remember what it's called. That's gonna bug me.
But the thing is, you're interacting with these spirits. You're understanding the world of spirit, right? But the principles of how we call out the self, right? As you're calling out these great elemental forces, and why you have one that works is because you put the stuff together to generate the necessary elements to create that spirit, to put that spirit into matter, and from matter generate a consciousness that's not your own.
Oh yeah, and that's the fun stuff. I love doing that. Like I said, rock that I'm about to be doing it too soon.
Right. And that's the thing about these spells and these arrangements and these grids. It's like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're doing it. And if you suffer through the hour and 20 minutes of this video, I explain exactly how it's working. So this is Magic 101, 102, and 103. Like, we're on the application process, right? And if you can go forth and do, well, then, okay, what are the 3 books that you need to have done? What are the 3 basic kinds of journals that you should keep? What are the kinds of journals that I don't keep because I keep them yet, right? Like, this is what I need to do because the way I keep my records, it's based on spellcraft. And if I don't like the way that it was done, I still feel all the things that I feel in the moment about it anyway. I'm going to feel about that kind of response or that recipe or that formula. It's like looking at a cookbook and knowing the recipe and then, okay, did that recipe turn out good or was it a gut blaster and it made everybody sick, right? Is that a recipe that I'm never going to touch again? And that's the magic that I have to stay away from because it's improper, because it doesn't work, because it didn't get formed correctly. And so that becomes the book of broken magic. That becomes the book of broken spells that I have to be careful on how it's approached. And I have to put accurate warning labels in front of everything beforehand. That's why there's a warning label in front of the Grimoire of Arts. Like, it is a sentient entity once you get your own copy because it technically exists only in quantum space until it gets printed. Until those words get put on paper because you decided to buy it and bring it into your life, do you get to invite the things that come with it? And the things that come with it, Alex, you're experiencing.
I've experienced so much with the book, from it comforting me to it being like, here, use this one.
Right? Like, it throws spells at you. Like, you open it up and it's like, oh, I'm going to do this one today.
Pretty much. Like, I just got done inking up a defense spell I wrote.
Cool. Share that with us.
Oh yeah, it's based off the 4-in-1. It's you basically using the 4-in-1 to create a. Where is it? Come here, my friend. Where are you? Elemental ward to create an elemental ward using the seals that I'll be drawing out and putting together for the elements. Yeah.
That's epic, man.
And those will be going in my little red book for seals.
And so one of the really, really cool things of what you're doing with these is the adaptation of, okay, well, now that you've got that, these astrological seals that we're creating, right? These 12 and 4 and 8 4-based grids, when we're pulling from the hypercube, right, of creation of the phantasmagoria of chaos magic and breaking the energy structure of the frequency of nature. Like, one of the things that I was sharing with Mike this morning is part of the study that I did last night. Oh, excellent. Excellent. I got to invite Mike.
He's on it?
Up here because he bought yarrow and lavender today.
Ooh.
Fucking awesome.
And speaking of the geometric, that's the one I haven't touched yet, is the geometric shield.
Yeah, that one gets a little screwy. Where in the fuck did I put it? So that design of the hypercube, right? Of all the different shapes of how this image, where'd it go? This image will flow together. What's up, bro? What's up? How you doing, man?
I'm doing. Look what I got. Look at what I got.
You got green
Ooh.
things.
Lavender
Ooh.
and yarrow.
Dude, that's epic.
Fresh lavender, fresh yarrow. Can I use a pine from my pine cone as far as pine?
Yes. Yeah.
I got all the ingredients in.
Oh, fucking cool.
I miss growing herbs. I had a couple, but they didn't grow back.
Aw.
Yeah,
Well, did you deplete the soil from its nutrients?
probably.
Huh?
I was using planting soil, but I didn't put any more nutrients into it besides that.
Yeah. They need constant like supply of nutrients and fertilizer to keep them going throughout their life cycle.
I got plenty of dogs.
That's
Dog
not
Yeah,
poo-poo.
right.
Dog poo-poo
Yeah.
uses nitrogen.
I need you to make me a list of what herbs we use daily, like what are the most prominent herbs, so that I can go to the
Okay.
greenhouse and start buying them. That way I have them on hand.
perfect. I'll do that.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, honestly, at one point, every list, every herb out there, just start fucking buying herbs.
Oh no, you don't. I don't think you understand. The greenhouse I found,
Yeah.
Amish-owned. Well, we found it's Amish-owned, and there's like 10 greenhouses. She's like, "Oh yeah, it's in greenhouse number 10." Right as soon as you get inside, I'm like, "Huh? What?"
All right.
Anything you can want there.
Oh man, I love it.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
all the snapdragons there. That's where I get my snapdragons.
Okay.
Greenhouses.
I'm getting you some of them too. I know you say no, you're not ready for me.
So, Mike, if you become our gardener, I'll just pay you for ingredients if you grow them.
How to grow?
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah, if you can grow them, because I don't. What's that?
I was able to
I said
get.
she knew.
What?
Is that Nita?
Oh,
Yeah, you're all screwing. Like you're jumping.
Sorry. Yeah, no, I was watching League of Fire on YouTube. I forgot they were still on.
Sorry about that, man.
Yeah, I can start growing. I know how to grow. Like I know all the chemicals, and she knows all the processing. So
Okay. Yeah, if you can supply the ingredients for our spell kits, that could be the thing that we put out first. That could be the thing you get first. That could be the order of operations. And boom, we have a spell we can do.
Well,
Okay, so it'll be all the ingredients necessary.
holy shit, baby!
I already have all that shit's grown.
She has oregano, chives.
I need to process the chives now because they're ready to harvest.
All right, we're gonna have a nice little garden in that little community.
In my little flower bed. I turned my flower bed into an herb bed.
Works for me.
That's epic.
I got spearmint, I got my oregano, and there's some kind of funky tree thing. And then I got my blueberry bushes. That was my sage plant, but then it got killed. And my chives.
Oh no.
And my parsley was there too. I got to redo my sage and my parsley.
Yeah, greenhouse smell. Man, you can smell the sage in that place.
Mm-hmm.
Walked in there to get the yard.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm like, what?
Oh, I was gonna say, do you have bad allergies to pollen?
Yes and no. I do, but I don't care.
Careful with yarrow. It might make you sneeze.
Oh, well, cannabis makes me
Speaking
sneeze.
of scents and things that are relevant to your current situation, I want to make sure that I'm like, hey, be aware that you might have an allergy to that if you've got an issue. So it might not be good to keep it in your house. So be careful with yarrow.
It's only going to be in pots until I move. Once I move, it's going out into the garden. So.
Cool.
I mean, it could be worse. I'd rather have a pollen allergy instead of, not being able to use any burn cream for the most part. Yeah. Aloe vera allergies suck.
Yeah.
I have some of that growing too.
You could use comfrey.
Huh?
Comfrey as a cooling poultice that you could make to help with wounds.
Would you say Humphrey?
Comfrey, Comfry. Comfrey and a little bit of would do some of that too, because it'll stimulate blood flow, I believe, but don't quote me on that one yet. I have to double check before but that would be first thought would be I wonder. But yeah, the crazy shit is the synchronicity of all of these things. So if you bought the plant, we can supply the ingredients for the people that want to do the thing. Then who better to have you as our gardener that's doing these things? And all the more reason for
I was sitting here thinking, and like I'm always drawing sigils. I'm always making concoctions for conjurations and incantations and things like that. So I'm like, why not just go to the greenhouse, get the shit? That way I have the plants on hand. If something comes up like a binding spell or a protection spell or an exorcism, I don't have to go get it. I've got all the material I need. Just clip it, dry it, and be good to go.
Right. And that's the thing about having the images made in the ink and these things. So if you don't have those ingredients after you use them, they're in a book of sacred things that all you have to do is open the page and blammo.
That sounds good.
Right?
We could do them and put them on the page where they belong.
Yeah. Why do you think I do what I do with the ink and the sigils?
Yeah, like that's why the gates continuously work time and time and time again. Is you once you do it right, you've got it, and you don't have to worry about it. Then you can. It's like set it and forget it shit. It's like you can do it. It's there. It's done. You don't have to remember all the nuance you put into it at the 6 months of work. You just got the thing, and what are you going to do with the thing afterwards?
Yeah, because I know how to dry the chives and how to dry parsley and how to do sage. So I've done all of those. I've done the mint, the oregano. I learned how to dry all of that stuff. Rose petals.
And then we just send it to Brian for his kits.
Yeah.
I got dried roses right now.
Okay.
And I'm still working on setting up, like renting a hall and setting up a convention to bring people in, talk to them about Sprad and the academy.
Yeah. So the thing I'm trying to figure out how to do is where do we go local? What local event that we could do free in a park where we can get people to gather, where we don't have to pay exorbitant fees for a marketplace setup like that? What can we do cheaply and inexpensively where we can start going out there and interacting with the community, right? And so convention halls are really expensive, right? Yeah. Fairgrounds, fair tickets, vendor booths, all of these things are very expensive. But what is the day-to-day practice that we're doing, which we can include in other people, so that they can begin to become part of our community?
That's where I have my wedding.
Right. So find cheap places to advertise.
Right. And so that's going to be the thing. What are we going to do when the people come together? What are we going to do? Where we rent depends on what we do.
Well, we feed them, and then we get to know them, and then we talk about what we've been through, how we go about our paranormal experiences and what we do, things we've caught, and then we lead into the witchcraft part of it. The exorcisms. How did I get rid of that ghost? Well, because I'm a sorcerer and I know exorcisms, I went in and I exorcised them.
Yeah.
Simple, safe, and help the community. It wasn't evil. I didn't eat your children,
Why?
So you weren't Lilith?
Those poor
No.
people in the wintertime that have no heat because the central power grids are shut down because their infrastructure has fallen apart. Like,
All right.
oh, fuck all the fuck. This sucks.
It does.
All the more reason why we got to figure out a way to get all this shit done. So that way, okay, so we're gonna rent a space, or can we just do it in a park and call a bunch of people and say, hey, we're gonna gather in the park. The Academy of Sorcery is pulling together a thing.
Well, I mean, you could, but what's the ordinances on gathering? And you know what I mean? Like,
Right, you'd have to have so many people, or only allot so many people to be around at one specific time in certain
that's
places.
what I'm saying. So, if 50 people show up and there's only enough for 25, guess who's getting the fine?
Yeah.
I don't know that there were any ordinances like
Well,
that. My grandma used to
There's
run.
plenty of paranormal conventions.
There is. And that's what I need to start hitting up because I've got awesome paranormal footage, and I'm just going to get more as the time goes by. So,
Absolutely.
Like the
Absolutely.
one I loved was the hand on the shoulder I saw in one of your videos.
that was actually taken at Pioneer Cemetery. It's an old cemetery out in the valley here in Pennsylvania. It's a bunch of kids died from the Black Plague, and there was an old slave lady that was buried outside of the cemetery. She used to watch the children, and I forget what happened, but they ended up killing her and putting her outside the cemetery where all the children are on the inside of the cemetery. And one night, Sandy and Tink were in the graveyard. They were doing, I don't know what the hell they were doing, but I was outside and I was making a pre-video to go with the videos that I would be putting together afterwards. And so I made the video explaining that we were there, we were training Tink and whatnot. And I had the camera in this hand. And I was like, oh, I lost train of thought with, you know what I mean, with this hand. So I'm holding the camera and I'm touching my head. And just at that time, you see this little child's hand come up, tap me on the back. And I didn't know nothing about it until I got home. I was like, holy fuck. Handprints all over the back of my car. Little child's handprints all over the back of my car after I left the cemetery. Like, it was freaky shit, man.
That's pretty cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
They come in and out of here all the time. She feels them.
Yeah. It's interesting when we're at the crossroads between space and time. When we as individuals and the energies that we raise as we do these things, right? Like you're in a period of open and expansion because you want to connect with these things. You're doing it in a way that you get to interact with these things for a specific purpose of paranormal investigation and interaction. So you're a little off the rails when it comes to normative safety.
Right.
You're intentionally doing that so you get content to generate from. Whereas what Alex is doing needs to be on an outside, in a ritual space, outside the home in a different context than where it's going to expose his family to that stuff.
Right.
Because he's already done that once. And he said he doesn't want to do it again. So we have to transition from doing magic inside the house to doing magic with a sword.
And that's where you go and you find a place that you can build your altar and it's secluded and it's just a place for you. And that's where you practice it.
Right.
And
that becomes those groves. That becomes the need for having temple spaces. That becomes the need for having publicly accessible temple spaces. That becomes the need for, okay, well, how in the am I supposed to arrange for that?
I would like to build a temple here in PA.
Mm-hmm.
That would be epic.
That's my goal before too long, is to build a temple here in PA.
Right. And my problem with doing anything of the sort is how do we cultivate a space that is accessible to all peoples that would allow it to be a type of ritual park that they could come do their rituals and be unmolested and undisturbed during that sacred time.
Well, it has to be private property first.
Right.
You can do whatever you want to do on your own property. It doesn't matter as long as there's rules set in place by the property manager.
Okay. So then
as long as you have the property and you put posted private property signs up, let it known the government can't come in there.
Okay. So that is something that we could do. That is something we could very viably do, and make it in a safe kind of way. But at the same time, I don't want it to devolve into niche cult behavior that is outside of the context of an individual's connection to their own personal moment, so that they can do their rituals and their records in peace. And then what happens if we get that? Okay, well, that's the one spot on the property that's going to cultivate this particular energy, right? So we do the gate opening ceremony in mass for the big stuff, right? And it's what people feel. It's that thought they get, that inspiration, that goal, that dream, that whatever it is, by exposure to that energy that allows them to progress through the moment, so that they understand that when they're in that moment that I was talking about earlier, they're able to absorb that energy and reflect upon that energy when it's in its most state of manifestation.
I'm in a meeting. In a meeting. In a meeting.
But that shit, it pulls. When that type of concept is discussed, it pulls.
Right. Oh, you can definitely feel the energy. I mean, like I said, when I did my rite of transformation, man, there was so much energy coming around there in that circle. Like, you seen me put my hands up, I was taking it all in, man. I mean, it was a lot of energy. You seen me afterwards. I could have ran around Liverpool about 5-6 times.
Yep.
I can't even run a half a block.
Right. And as we go through and we cultivate these kinds of developments, as we cultivate these kinds of relationships between, okay, so we are ourselves in our worst state. Well, what does our best state look like? Right? And that's what that video didn't touch on, is the best application of that information. They don't talk about what's the best use, because they don't know the best use. They don't know how to articulate best use scenarios, because they're not allowed to talk about it.
Right.
Because that's the shit you keep secret. Because if you do something bad, it gives people a way to blame you for something that went wrong, even though it might not have been under the conditions. All you're doing is describing a bad situation that occurred externally to the conditions of the bad thought that you experienced internally. And what was the synchronicity of the environment, so that you could bridge the gap in that environment, so you can avoid that the next time.
Right.
So that you can do your spells better the next time, so that you can always be seeking that improvement of your spellcraft, regardless of what shit is going on in your environment, because your environment is wild as fuck. You still walk with purpose and safety, because you're within a tunnel, a quantum field of possibility and growth that you are putting to only the good thing. So your entire life is walking through doorways and gateways and path into the possibility of a moment, so that you get the wish that you want, right? This wishing spell, it says turn facing north, turn facing east, turn facing south, turn facing west. What does that sound like?
Sounds like opening of a gate.
Calling upon King Boreas, King Urias, King Notus, and King Zephyrus of the Four Winds.
That's the opening of a gate right away.
For a wish. And if you do it, and you're wishing, and your desire spells break down, what do you wish for? Be careful what you wish for, people.
Thank you.
Do you understand the meaning?
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Raven said, I learned that the hard way.
So as you walk the path of transformation, what was that, Mike?
Raven said, yeah, I've learned that the hard way.
Right. So as you're walking the path of transformation, as your body becomes different and entrains your life path in a different way, because, hey, your liver is responding differently to the food you're eating, because you're trying to awaken that element of flow within your body.
You like salad?
Right? Yay. I do like salad. I don't eat enough of it.
I love salad, man. Oh, yeah.
I do too.
Oh, it is here. Wayman's just here for you. Huh? Wayman's just here for you.
What's up, buddy?
Oh, I'm trying to look for some these herbs that I have written down that match with these planets. But of course, I got Cunningham's encyclopedia, although it's very good. It doesn't have everything I need.
No, Brian, there was another book. Brian. What was the other book you steered me towards? It wasn't Hands.
The Master Book of Herbalism by Paul Barrel.
That's who it was. But you can't find in Cunningham's. You can find there.
Yep, it's a good secondary reference, and it goes into planets like Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, where most herbals don't.
Right, because they stick with the 7 main.
Right, and it also gives you formulations and decoctions and the different infusions and what those words actually mean are in that book.
Okay.
But
because I'm trying to write out what herbs I'm going to use for the Mamu. Saturn water, Saturn air, Saturn water, and Venus earth.
Okay, so that I would actually recommend.
Disappearing act.
What's that?
You froze. You were there 1 second, and then when you unfroze, you were gone.
Magic Brian.
Yeah. What's up?
That's your new name, Magic Brian.
Why? Okay. So let's do this. So the Herbal Association, I'm going to give you a list of herbs that are going to correspond to the earth, air, fire, and water of that particular planet. Okay. This is going to come from the Black Magic of the Shah Hamim Farash from Aeon Sophia Press. Okay, so it's the magic and the language of the angels of the air, fire, water, the zodiac, the whole shebang. Everything we're talking about, this is their herbal association. So, what was the first ingredient? What was the first ingredient you need?
Saturn and water.
Saturn and water. Saturn and water's ingredients are going to be celery, cassia, Quassia.
So celery, and because I need 2 of those, because 2 M. And what was the other one?
Cassia, Quassia. It's a bark that's used in hoodoo and associations to ascribe an attachment to a person or a spirit.
Did you say
So you write the name of the individual on a piece of cassia bark, and you can bond their spirit to that piece of wood. So if you nail it to a tree, you're nailing that issue to the tree or the name of that thing. But don't do that one because that's a nasty curse.
So don't use cassia?
Oh no, use cassia. It's a fantastic herb. I'm just saying don't do that death spell like that.
Oh yeah. No, this is for dreams. This is for dreams.
Sassafras is another ingredient.
Under Saturn and water?
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to use sassafras instead of celery then.
Yeah. Or yarrow.
Or yarrow might be better. Yarrow.
Right? Like the spell of summoning the spirit of air in the way that we're teaching Mike, right? Yarrow, lavender, pine. Yarrow is a Saturnine element. Yarrow is a Venus element. Yarrow is a water element. Like, this is a really important plant.
It's a beautiful plant.
It is. And, the psychic inducing teas that you can make from brewing its leaves, like its flowers. Like, you can do that almost on the daily. Like, just make sure, like, it's not just the only thing you drink, but you can do it regularly. And you can do some really cool stuff, if you consume sarsaparilla, for God's sake. Too much is bad for you, but in small quantities, it's a way to connect to the Saturnine elements of water, right? It's the bad for you water, right? Saturn water. bad for you water, poisoned water, lead-based water, right? All of Flint is leaded water, right? It's all Saturn water.
Yeah. Doesn't help that we add more to it, like, hey, have some dead bodies.
Let's not. Don't do that. That's not
Well,
good.
no, not personally add. I'm just saying that's what the city does. Okay. That's why I don't do that. I'm nice. I'm a good person. I'm a good noodle. I earned my
Don't be
gold
evil.
star.
You have to have some.
Yeah, that's why you get a
Alright.
counterpart that's evil, and then you're balanced. You're the good,
No
the
evil
counterpart's the
counterpart.
evil.
No shadow selves. No division of yourself into some weird offshoot homunculus where there's only a dark version of you and only a light version of you.
No,
That's a terrible idea.
This
Let's see,
isn't what was that movie? Freak. Scott. This isn't Scott Pilgrim.
I'm the divine sorcerer. I'm the light. She's the raven. She's the dark side. She's the dark. So stick together,
Yet she's the one keeping you from cursing a bloodline.
I know, right? But
That's my good, isn't it?
But that's her good and her doing something
Right.
I really want to do.
It's like, okay, so these are dark principles, right? These are dark, scary, heinous things. We just talked about a death spell, death curse, or diminishment curse of any kind. And yet we're also talking about, well, okay, well, there's the response of, well, you could do that, but
right.
you can do that. As a response to the question of like what would work for that situation under the best use, well, that would be an easy way to do it, but it's not that you should do it. It's that you choose the better path. Right? Just because you think the thought, just because you put it out there is like, okay, well, that's a thing you could do, or not.
Or can.
Or not.
Want to, because I can.
But shouldn't.
And there becomes the problem of all social media is because we can.
Because we can, right?
But just because we can doesn't necessarily mean we should,
Right.
but we also shouldn't shit on ourselves.
Right. I mean,
that's what they teach in chronic pain management is don't shit on yourself for all the things you should have been able to do had you been not able to because of your pain. So that you can accept the situation as it is, so that as you accept it as it is, you can move forward without grief.
Right. I mean, technically, I've been sorcerer for like a year and a half, and no evil. Everything's been good. Like, I'm bound to do some evil here soon.
No.
No.
That's what.
Why? King Solomon did. Look, he built a temple.
You don't think of it as evil. Think of it as
That's
I warned you.
I'm sure he warned King Solomon too, but he still did it. And look what came out of it: a glorious purple and gold temple. Like,
where is it? Why isn't it built? That's what we need to recreate. Is something giant.
Well, because the Romans and those dickheads over there destroyed it. That's why it's not here.
Yeah,
it's called war. Humans have that problem.
They do. At the same time, there is a pursuit of snails in one particular region of the world, that shit called Tyrian purple. The only way to acquire purple in the ancient world was to get trade going for one particular ingredient, and you had to do it on a massive scale in order to justify its inclusion. So the rarer the ingredient, the more kingly, stately shit you could afford to do as a way to justify the expense in the pursuit of it. So purple is how he became king, is this pursuit of this one fucking snail.
I think back in, if I remember correctly, the Hebrews used some kind of seaweed or something that turned everything purple. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure
it's a snail. Yeah. The only, at least according to the thing that I was watching again at 2 a.m. today, were these documentary type things of like, well, this is what they did and this is what they still do. It's like $3,000 a gram for this stuff. It's used as a collector's item in dyes, or people that collect dyes, or these kinds of ways to color ropes and things like that. So as a hoodoo ingredient, as a rare ingredient for magic, it is phenomenal to get the color purple. But you also have to think, okay, well, what is all the things involved? What did I have to do to get that $3,000 in the first place? So what am I putting it towards that's going to be of generative use that justifies that inclusion of that ancient principle because of all of the work and all of the effort involved in that? So the more effort that was put towards this one piece of ritual craft, finely crafted, made of the best things, is not a luxury of some epic pursuit. The inclusion of these rare ingredients also gives the lifestyle and the generative need for the reasons and the recourse for secret needs and transactions of reasons of monies outside of public market.
Right.
There needs to be a place where we can do these kinds of transactions in temple spaces where we're not taking away from the ritual element to where people want to include themselves in those frequencies. Right? Like if we could build a temple or a building, well, let's just call it a building, and we had it aligned perfectly to all the angles and clocks and times and all the frequencies of the geometric patterning of Earth. So we do it perfectly, right? We build our version of what is the Great Pyramid of Giza. What are we going to do with it?
We're going to use it to help people learn to go to a higher consciousness.
To reach that higher state.
Right.
So that they can feel, experience, and see the things that we feel, see, and experience. I think it's time the world gets to a higher consciousness.
I agree.
Like I said, we left the dark ages hundreds of years ago. It's time we start acting like it.
Right. So it's let's be better. Let's aim higher. Let's do something in a different way that we haven't done before. And as we come to this new season, as May 1st rolls around, and as we get ready for the Beltane, the new spring season, what is it that we're going to be resurrecting into? What is it that we're going to be growing into from out the seed during spring? Right? As we grow the tree of life, what is the thing that we're going to grow, that we're going to cultivate our entire life? And its roots will go deeper than we know, and its branches will have shade for people we'll never know. But it's a viable life path that helps produce part of the cycles. And so that's what today's conversation has been about. I appreciate everybody joining us today. Thank you very much. But I've been going on about this shit for about 2 hours. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for joining me today. Stay safe, everybody.